Hey all, this is Brad with Kinetic Group, here to do another video. This time I'm going to do it on how to stipple a handgun, and in this video I'll show you specifically how to stipple a Glock, which you can see here, a little range session afterwards, just testing out the grip of it. Here's the Glock I'll be stippling. It's a Gen 3 frame, and it'll be my Glock 34 that I'm going to use for USPSA shooting, specifically the production division. And because it's in production and not limited, I'll have to stay within certain areas of the Glock on the stippling. But this can also be applied to any other polymer handgun that you want to stipple, or really anywhere on this handgun that you'll stipple. I am by no means a subject matter expert on this. This will be my third Glock that I've stippled. I'll show you my first and my second ones. My second one turned out really well. And I'll just show you some of the lessons I've learned. And it really, if you acquire the skill, get the tools to do it right, and spend the time right amount of time on it, you can really save yourself money and do really well on your handguns in the future. So this is my second Glock that I stippled, and as you can see, I did a lot of other modifications to it. Modified the mag well and undercut the trigger guard, and stippled up on the side of the frame where you can rest your thumb. So I'll try to make this stipple job look as much like that as possible. As you can see, I used a golf ball style stippling, which I prefer. You can actually see a little design I tried to do in that, which it's barely visible, but you can see a G and an R for Gray Man Research. So here's my first Glock that I stippled. It's my Glock 19 that I still carry concealed. And as you can see, there's some lines and some other things that don't look as good aesthetically as my second Glock that I stippled. So I learned a lot on this, but it's still incredibly functional. As you can see along the back strap there, again, it doesn't look as great, but still functional. So it depends on what you want. I want both, but of course function comes highly sought after, or as much higher a priority over form. But still, you know, if you're going to do a job, do it right. So we'll talk about a lot of the things that I learned from this job, and how I've applied it towards the second, and how I'll apply it towards the current stipple job that we're talking about. So the first thing we'll talk about is preparation of the frame for stippling. This is not an absolutely necessary step, but it is what I learned from the first stipple job that I did on my Glock 19. If you don't prep these edges and prep the frame for stippling, it won't look as good, and won't be as consistent, and you'll see edges, and your stipple job just won't look as good. So as you can see right here, I'm using a Dremel. And the big point is not necessarily to remove a lot of material. The point is to smooth out all the edges and to smooth out all the material, so that when you're using the soldering iron, that it has a nice, smooth, consistent surface. And again, all the holes that you're placing, or all the divots that you're placing in the frame, are consistent and smooth. So just go around all the frames, smooth out the edges. I may have gotten a little aggressive on the back strap there. You don't necessarily need to do that. And again, I'm only staying within the parameters that I have to for USPSA production. So you can do this really anywhere you want to on the frame of the Glock. We won't get into undercutting the trigger guard or stippling up on the side of the frame in this video. And you can find videos pertaining this throughout YouTube and the internet, but I just wanted to show this process that I learned, because some of those videos that I found and used for my own education, I thought did a lot of unnecessary and unneeded steps and took way too long to to get done. You don't really need to be crazy with this. So when you're prepping the slide, don't get too crazy. Just smooth out the edges, and you'll see at the end of this, it's not really a perfect smooth shine and polish like some other videos suggest you need. You don't really need that. All you need is just a smooth surface. So after the Dremel, busted out some sandpaper and a sanding sponge, or whatever you call it, and just smoothed it all out. And as you can see right here, if you look really close, it's not that great. It's still rough, but overall looks pretty smooth. So the next thing you do, again, depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. You can draw out your lines, and you can use a ruler for this. You can use all kinds of tools for this. I just kind of drew it by sight, or drew it by hand, about where I wanted the stippling to go based off of the USPSA rule book. So whatever you need to do, get a pencil, draw out your lines and your borders, and here I'm pulling out my USPSA handbook to make sure that I'm stippling in the right area, and just create borders to stay within. And again, I don't think you need to go crazy with this. This shouldn't take you very long at all, maybe a total of like 5 to 10 minutes. And prepping the frame shouldn't take that long either. Should take maybe a total of half an hour. So right about here you should be at 30-40 minutes into your preparation process. So again, don't go crazy on this. Another important part of stippling is practicing. You don't want to be practicing on the frame of your handgun. So one of the things that I found that best approximates the polymer on a Glock is an AR-15 grip, just the standard AR-15 grip that comes with most lower part kits. So get one of those, practice stippling along the smooth part, and just work with the heat of your stipple gun or your soldering iron, and learn and practice patterns and everything before you go over to the Glock. And then anytime you go away from the stippling and then come back, make sure your soldering iron is heated up to the right temperature to start stippling correctly. And again, practice a little bit and then get back on the Glock. I've tried with PMags, but they're just a different kind of polymer, too dense, too hard, and so they don't really approximate the Glock very well. So after prepping and practicing, the next thing I do is I go along and I make borders with the soldering iron and stipple along the edges of where I want to keep the dimples within. And then I go ahead and get after it. So as you can see here, I've already been stippling for a little bit, and I kind of have ADD personality, so I don't really stick to a specific pattern, but it actually works out really well that way. By not sticking to a specific pattern, it looks randomized and actually ends up looking really good. So as you can see here, just go throughout and put your dimples, of course, in between two dimples, and then just stay within your borders. And when you're stippling, you're not pressing hard with the soldering iron into the plastic. You don't want to do that, because if you push hard enough, you can push through the plastic. It's pretty difficult to do that, but you're lightly touching, and the heat of the soldering iron should be hot enough so that it immediately brings up the edges of the plastic. And that's the thing that this does too, is it brings up the edges of the plastic around the hole. It doesn't necessarily push really deep into the plastic or into the polymer. And as you can see here, I'm just about done. My ADHD at work. And then just fill in the rest of the space and you'll be done. And here's the finished project. And as you can see, doesn't look too bad. Probably comparable to a lot of companies out there that you'll pay a significant amount of money to. So if you have multiple polymer handguns that you want to stipple or get stippled, I think it might be worth learning this skill and acquiring the tools, because really all you need is a soldering iron and you're good to go. And now there's a whole bunch of different patterns and tips you can use on your soldering irons to vary this. This is just the simplest and easiest and most straightforward that I've found. But as you can see, it looks pretty good, and the greatest thing is the function. And if you've ever shot in an adverse environment where your hands are sweaty, like all day at a competition, or it's raining, or you have mud on your hands, or or blood on your hands or anything where it gets wet and sticky and muddy, you know how important it is to either have grip tape or stippling job on your handgun. It's absolutely vital. So if you have plans to do this to multiples of your guns, this will save you a lot of money in the long run, shipping your handgun to an FFL and back, and also paying for the stippling fee. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe, like, and share, and leave your thoughts on the video in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy.